Healing Light Fellowship Church honors our basic core values of fellowship, the pursuit of spiritual truth, to educate with service, to demonstrate the continuity of spirit, and to honor God's light in all things. Today I'd like to talk to you a little bit about how we can be the daylight for somebody. Since I first heard the song Daylight by Shinedown, I get choked up every time I listen. I can't get it out of my head because it helps me reflect on the challenges and pressures that we've all been under this past 2 years and possibly throughout life. Can we challenge ourselves to see the daylight? That's my question for you. Can we be the one who helps somebody? Not once, but twice, or maybe more. Do we recognize the big picture of being that person? I know it's not easy the last couple years, but if we're really being honest with ourselves, we can grow from everything we've experienced. It's in us. It's actually why we're going through it. Maybe these challenges are just a stepping stone. So don't get lost. Don't give up. Because the restrictions that are put on us in daily life are something that are just building blocks. My dad had challenges in his life. He struggled with alcoholism. It's a challenging disease. I'm not here to talk about my dad and how that affected my family so much as because I had that in my life, I had somebody that showed up. And at that one point, they saved my life where I was and helped me move forward. We're in a season of hope, a time to share miracles and make miracles. Today, I hope you can reflect and acknowledge on the miracles that have been done for you. It may seem insignificant, but the person you are leaning on, or the person who's leaning on you, is beginning to have a ripple effect, as I've said. And my hope is that not only will you have gratitude for what you're going through for that person, but also take that inspiration. Because sometimes we get busy and we miss the inspiration in the moment. Each time we have an opportunity to speak up front, we ask in prayer and meditation, we say, what can I share in my life that could be meaningful and maybe connect with somebody here today? And this song, Daylight, kept coming up over and over. In the song, it started out, I was diagnosed with the fear of getting too close. I had to tell the ones I loved I was on the ropes. Well, many of us can now say we've been on the ropes at some point, maybe even in recent times. But some of us have been on the ropes and we haven't gone and found somebody to talk to. We've internalized it, and it's harder to get through it that way. But God knows what we're going through, and God's working on us so that we can lift ourselves up if we don't have someone else to make us better because of everything we're going through. And even though you think you're going through this challenge alone, I bet you're not. I'd even be willing to say somebody is seeing you go through this and you don't realize they're seeing it. And if you're a person seeing somebody going through that challenge, have the courage to step up and say, what can I do? What you going through? Because if you don't step up, then they're on it their own. They're waiting in God's time to get that. But you can accelerate. Help. You don't have to feel alone right now because God is making a better way for us. So in the past couple of years, maybe you felt like you were on the ropes with your job, maybe in a relationship, maybe even with your friends. Maybe you're just simply having some mental challenges that you are sorting through and you don't know how to deal with it. How many of you might have had some of your darkest thoughts in the last 24 months? I bet the realities are pretty true. Knowing that you're strong enough to pull through it, maybe you don't know that now, but I'm telling you, you are. You are strong enough. There's a bigger purpose for what we're going through right now. And God's working to fill our hearts again from what we've learned. That growing process will make us strong because we're not alone. As Kelly Clarkson says, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Believe it. One might say that under this time, society's been under a collective pressure that we've never seen in our lifetime, at least in the generation we're in. And let's think about pressure, right? We've had to develop our own self-reliance. Some of us even had to teach ourselves because we couldn't connect with how learning was going. And each time we've had the opportunity to speak with others in prayer and meditation, what am I getting that's meaningful? I don't have anyone to bounce it back. Why? Because it's been taken away from us. That opportunity has been taken away from us. We've had an opportunity to actually experience the clubs, the friends, the church, everything that we thought was normal and productive in our life. We couldn't go there, or at least we were told you shouldn't go there. And coming down with COVID, if you were sick, you now had to take care of yourself because it may not be safe for someone else to take care of you. That's not normal. It's not what we knew to be normal. And in the worst case, some of us had loved ones in the hospital and we couldn't even go see them. And it wasn't easy to get an update. It's been hard. As extroverts, some of us are, we couldn't express ourselves and get feedback. We had to be more quiet. It wasn't normal. It didn't feel right. It was a small thing, not nearly as bad as the other things, but all those things build up. And so who's that person that helped you? Maybe not once, maybe twice, maybe even more. And because we couldn't communicate, we started focusing on what the news brought forward, which wasn't always the positive news. You got David Muir with one positive point, but that's not the whole point of the entire news session, right? So we had those constant reminders that we were being challenged. And we had that distraction that was taking us away from happiness, health, taking us away from our health and taking us away from our thoughts of having a prosperous life. And we weren't able to serve our brothers and sisters in a way that we were used to. We couldn't go to a lot of the places we volunteered for. We couldn't go to work and have the lunch conversations that helped somebody get through that day. Those pressures are going to change us in a positive way. You don't see it yet, but you will see it soon. And only time will tell as we pay it forward. Understand that pressure creates change within us. And I say, you guys can change, and things will be better. If you think about some simple things. Grapes, put under pressure, can create wine, right? Something possibly better for some of us. The earth, under pressure and heat, works with carbon to form diamonds. That pressure, again, making something better. Even a seed has to go under pressure. It has to break open so that it can grow and bring the fruit. So do we. We will get better too. God allows us to have that challenging experience so that we will grow. We can learn. We can adjust. And we can share our experience later on so that somebody else can use it to move on. Even Jesus, the reason for the season, he had to go through so much suffering so that we could see the lessons and he could teach the lessons for us to learn. Many of our masters have gone through those same challenges. So trust in the living process that God has given us. Let's consider some additional lyrics from this song. It says, "You saved my life, not once but twice. You keep me free from falling. It's amazing what the hard times can reveal. Like who shows up, who walks away, and who's for real. Who's been for real for you? Who have you been real for?" I'd like to share some of the things that have impacted me in my life that help you understand these journeys and how we think it's insignificant, but it's much more. A domino effect in my life would go like this. My grandmother saved me from poverty thoughts. She saved me from physical poverty. And it's not coincidence that I couldn't get this song out of my head, and today would have been her birthday. She was definitely the most influential person in my life. It actually would have been my dad's birthday today, too. Another catalyst that helped me see these blessings that have made me who I am today. From my youth, my grandmother made sure that I knew I was loved. But she was more. She was like a mom. She was my angel on earth. And she still inspires me today. I can't help but look at her picture in my office and get thought impressions. Do you have somebody in your family like that too? As I mentioned earlier, I grew up in a home of an alcoholic. My dad had a drinking problem. And some of it was because he drank with my grandfather. But that's not why I want to talk about this, because my dad's sickness actually brought my family closer. In a different way, because of what Grandma had to do for us. We leaned on her once, twice, and many other times. And she helped us get through heartaches, hardships, losing homes. She took away the anger, helped us not feel the destruction of what really was happening. And if you've been from a home of an alcoholic, you can understand that it impacts you financially. It impacts you with anger. It impacts you because you may not feel important. Maybe you haven't been picked up from school. Maybe your dad didn't come home, or your mom, or whoever that person might be. It just gives that feeling of, am I not important enough? So I had to learn those lessons so that I could move forward. His illness set up the situation and gave us some of our wonderful opportunities. Losing a home was probably the toughest thing we had to do, because we had to rebuild, we had to kind of save face and move forward. But Grandma and her army of 8 children picked us up, literally moved us, and we lived with her for a while. And we got back on our feet. So she was our savior. She was our provider. And no one really knows to this day, but I also think she had the right words at the right time for my dad when he was ready, so that he could commit to going to AA and changing his life to be there for the second part of his life. Grandma saved us literally. She was our faith. She didn't have to drag us to church. We just wanted to be with her. And because we wanted to be with her, we got the messages. She showed up and we knew God was with us. And we were excited to go to church with her. You just knew if you were with Grandma, things were okay. Like I said, most amazing woman I've ever known in my life. So amazing. She had back problems and I never knew it. I guess bearing 8 children could have a toll on your body. But when I was a kid, I would always want to go to the park because I could go walk the trails and I could do the exercise. And Grandma would go with me, and I didn't know her back was bad. And she would go to talk, to listen, and to make me feel important. And also, she knew she was helping me take away all that energy. In hindsight, she should have been very worn out. But despite her pain, despite her challenges, she was there. And she was the first person that saved my life and my family's, I think. And while my dad had challenges, he did eventually find AA, and he became a very great role model for my children. But at his funeral, it's odd what you will hear. Because even though he wasn't home and being that person that saved somebody's life, in his own way, with his union friends and with the people he had at his community that went drinking afterwards, usually workers, he impacted their lives one at a time. Many of them said he got them on the path to AA. He changed their life. He saved their lives. He didn't save them all. But I can't tell you how many people I didn't know that were impacted by things I would have never, ever had a chance to understand. So getting back to my experience, because Grandma had a love for music, I had a love for music, and so I was in band. Grandma helped me to be a better person, a better young man, and because I was a better young man and I loved music, I met my best friend, Jeff. Now, what does that mean? I think having a good friend to sound off and having a good friend to talk to or be an example can change your life, especially if you don't have some of those examples of what family life is. Now, I hung out with Jeff probably every day. I think his parents were definitely sick of me. And at one point, they probably said, "Why doesn't he just move in?" But his parents never made me feel unimportant. They not only brought me on vacations, in time his sister became friends with my sister, and we both went on vacations with their family. Not a small commitment to add 2 more children to your vacation plans. And the beautiful thing about this was I learned how a good family operated, a normal family, outside of my own. But the biggest thing they brought to me was the opportunity to see the friendships they built, that they went on vacation. All these friends had children of their own. And this became like a chosen family. So I learned what that friendship and chosen family was like. So many people were there to back me up in my lifetime, to help me build memories and success. And many of those chosen family members, the number one comment they would say, really it was so we'd fetch them a beer or some wine, was, "I'll dance at your wedding." But they did. They showed up and they danced at our wedding. And they celebrated at our graduations. And they were there for us. And I look forward to being there for them as we move forward into their stages of life. So don't discount the people that bring you forward and take you from one moment to the next, to the next. Because my best friend caused me to fill out an application and go to Illinois State. If he wouldn't have said, "I need a roommate," and practically filled out the form for me, then I wouldn't have ended up at Illinois State. If I wouldn't have ended up at Illinois State, I would not have met my wife. I would not have met my wife. I would have not been on the path to spiritualism that I have today, and I would not have met the founders of this church. So you can't say helping somebody, one person at a time, is going to be insignificant, because you never know how big the significance will be. You just can't see it yet. God has that plan. have faith and move forward in the small steps. I'm going to move forward and talk a little bit about now. My mother-in-law was very challenged over the last 2 years. So much so that she moved in with us. But she got a little bit edgy moving in with us. And she had a house in Chicago, but she couldn't function with a house. So we found her a home near us. We moved her in. We took a year to move everything out of her house. And because we had that privilege, my wife had me to lean on. I could take care of the house while she stayed with her mom and tag teamed it. She got the memories that she wouldn't have had if we didn't have a strong foundation with each other, and if we didn't have that luxury of having other people to lean on. Are you strong enough that people can call on you and ask for help? Are you strong enough that if they don't, you can offer it anyway? So in the process of rising up and allowing Debbie to help her mother, she passed. But she got to pass in her own home. We got to be there. And here's the thing. Because we got the home near us, her brother, we talked him into taking over the home and moving closer to us. He was down in Naperville, and we're up north in Grace Lake. He moved there. And last Christmas time, he became very ill. He was in a lot of pain. But what do guys do when they're in pain? We ignore it. We tough it out. Well, he had an infection. And thank God we lived close. And because we lived close, he started talking to Debbie more. Again, not once, but twice, many times. They became closer. Because he lived closer. And she made him go to the hospital. And the doctor told us he would have been one more day, this infection would have taken his life. You just don't know. That small step you take, that leap of faith that you take, you don't know what it's going to mean. It may literally mean you're helping somebody live. We always mention here that the soul chooses its time to be here. So we've all kind of chosen to be in this moment, to be in this time, and to go through this collective up and down experience that we're feeling. Because life is a test. But this is our moment. It's our moment to step up. It's our moment to make our miracles. It's our moment to react and define and show people what our character really is. It's a chance to show people how we're not stuck in yesterday, but we're going to grow forward. We're going to help move things forward. Because we are going to make choices. And we're going to assist our soul's journey when we make that choice and learn and focus on what lesson we can bring forward now. Knowing that we've all made that conscious choice to be in this time and go through this together, please reflect on what we're learning. Be willing to share it as I have today. Have faith, have hope, and have the ability to wake yourself up and make your heart sing. Bring your heart's desire true. Don't sit there and postpone it. Work on doing it now. Work on making those steps. Because if you don't make those steps, you won't have an opportunity to manifest the great things that we're going to do. Christmas is a season of miracles. Believe in yourself. Make the miracles, because there is no coincidence. You can be the daylight. Thank you.